AWANI Tonight, and I'm Saraya Mia. Lockdown extended for 2 more weeks. Daily COVID cases remain high. And how do we put a stop to deaths in custody? That's coming up. The nationwide lockdown, or MCO 3.0, will be extended for another 2 weeks from June 15 to June 28. Senior Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob said in a statement today that the list of activities and sectors allowed to operate, as well as SOPs, will remain the same throughout the period. This was after the country consistently recorded over 5,000 daily COVID-19 cases, with the average of 6,871 cases as of yesterday. He added that the decision was made after a meeting with the National Security Council and the Health Ministry. COVID-19 cases in Malaysia climbed to almost 7,000 cases today, after dipping to about 5,000 cases the last 2 days. The Health Ministry reported 6,849 new cases and 84 deaths in the past 24 hours. Selangor, which has ramped up testing since last month, reported 2,558 cases. Kuala Lumpur recorded 884, followed by Sarawak 699 and Negeri Sembilan 685 cases. The ministry also reported an addition of 16 clusters, 12 linked to clusters at the workplace. The country's daily vaccination rate continues to climb. Close to 150,000 people were administered COVID-19 vaccines yesterday.
This also marks the third day that the daily vaccination rate has been over 150,000. Malaysia has so far administered some 4.1 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines as of yesterday.
Kita tahu semalam 156,000 ke dekat begitulah jumlahnya, akan meningkat sampai 200 ke 250,000 dan lagi pada bulan Julai mungkin 300 ke 400,000 sehari seluruh negara. Ini membuktikan bahawa imunisasi ini sedang berjalan dengan baik, dan yang penting kita nak supaya lebih ramai mendaftar dalam MySejahtera untuk mendapatkan vaksin ini.
The Prime Minister assured that everyone who is eligible would be vaccinated in order for the country to achieve herd immunity by the end of the year.
Home Minister Datuk Sri Hamzah Zainuddin says the crackdown on undocumented migrants will continue during the lockdown period. In an interview with The Star, he also dismisses the need for a new amnesty plan. He says the ongoing foreign workers recalibration program allows migrants to choose either to be rehired legally or deported. He said since the start of the recalibration program in November 2020, over 200,000 individuals have participated, with about 110,000 applying to stay in the country and the rest requesting to return to their home countries. Hamzah reiterated the need for a crackdown on undocumented migrants in order to detain them and get them documented, claiming it would be easier for them to get vaccinated. He also rejected views that a crackdown would deter undocumented migrants from participating in the country's COVID-19 immunization program. Non-government organizations warned that the raids would spark infection clusters in prisons and be counterproductive to government efforts to combat the current pandemic. Staying on the topic of migrants in Malaysia, North-South Initiative's Adrian Pereira says misinformation about migrants has led to abuse and dehumanizing treatment towards the community. Let's hear his recommendations on how we can address the distress of migrant workers.
There has been massive misinformation campaigns about who a migrant is. And, even the definition of party, it's very confusing, the term illegal immigrant. These are dehumanizing terms which are not only misleading, but they also don't legally represent the actual status of a migrant.
He recommends that the management of labor migration be put under one ministry.
One of the biggest recommendations which we have been proposing is that the management of labor migration go under one ministry, the Human Resource Ministry. So you separate the documentation aspect only to one ministry. So you then don't have the confusion about your permits being issued by another ministry. It can reduce the what you call that, the vulnerability of getting undocumented, and then even the a safe repatriation process after you finish your work. If we don't get our act in order, investors are going to pull out. And we have already seen some of our big companies being put under the spotlight. In fact, some of our top companies are being kind of sanctioned by the Americans. And, it cannot be business as usual as before.
Child labor has risen for the first time in 20 years to 160 million, with the pandemic threatening to push more prematurely into work. Tonight on Consider This, we ask experts from International Labour Organization what must be done. In just less than 2 months, 4 cases of deaths in police custody were reported. How do we put a stop to deaths in custody and prevent abuse of power? Director of Eliminating Deaths and Abuses in Custody Together, Yohendra Nadarajan, advocates for the implementation of a Coroner's Court Act and Independent Police Complaints of Misconduct Commission to investigate custodial deaths.
There should be a new Coroner's Court Act should be implemented, and we can always take examples of UK, Australia. They have a specific Coroner's Court Act, and that it's specific into what happens to somebody when somebody dies in custody and how a coroner or an inquest is to be done. Now an inquest is governed in the Criminal Procedure Code, but that's also including all other criminal elements. So we also feel that there must be the implementation of the Independent Police Complaints and Misconduct Commission, the IPCMC. The Royal Commission was tabled and a finding was made in 2005, and we feel that the recommendations at the Royal Commission should be the basis of that IPCMC. So it should be an independent commission and not the police, and currently the police who are investigating such cases. So that's why we say that the IPCMC must be implemented as soon as possible. And this both also comes back to political will of the government of the day.
Yohendra believes that the Rakyat plays an important role in starting conversation and creating public awareness surrounding police custodial deaths.
Society must play a large part to assist this cause. I mean, public needs to be more engaging. To join forums, to start petitions. See like how the death of George Floyd in America sparked the Black Lives Movement. So we want the Rakyat to be more engaging. Speak to your MPs to raise this in Parliament. So sometimes always we think that we as individuals we can't do more, but actually as individuals you can do a lot of things. I know now we're having a pandemic, we can't gather, but of course let's start with simple petitions and forum first, and then later, and also speak to your MPs, raise this, and hopefully once MPs start raising this in Parliament, that will push the government, that will to say that, okay, it's time to have a new Coroner's Court Act or implement the IPCMC. So the Rakyat, you and ordinary citizen have a lot to play here. I believe it is not a race issue, but it is a Malaysian issue, a Malaysian problem. And this affects everybody. So nobody should be tortured, nobody should actually die in custody. So it doesn't matter if somebody says it's an Indian issue, it is not an Indian issue, it is a Malaysian issue.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Maka lebih sukar untuk COVID menjangkit kita.
Untuk tempoh 2 minggu ni duduk di rumah. Kalau kita boleh laksanakan PKP Kendiri dan keluarga,
saya kira insya-Allah kita boleh berjaya. Akhirnya kita menang.
Perang COVID-19 masih belum berakhir. Dalam kita berusaha memutuskan rantaian wabak ini, kita jangan terpedaya dengan virus.
Welcome back. The United Kingdom will donate at least 100 million surplus COVID vaccine doses within the next year. As a start, the country will donate 5 million doses in the coming weeks, primarily for the use in the world's poorest countries. The pledge comes ahead of the G7 summit, which begins in Cornwall today. At the summit, world leaders are expected to announce they will provide at least 1 billion vaccine doses to the world through dose sharing and financing. The group is also expected to set out a plan to expand vaccine manufacturing in order to achieve that goal. More than 600 million people in China have been vaccinated against COVID-19, according to its health officials. The country aims to inoculate 40% of its 1.4 billion population by end of June.
Some 845 million COVID vaccine doses have been administered in China, covering 622 million people. The National Health Commission, however, did not specify how many people were fully inoculated. By the end of 2021, China is expected to vaccinate at least 70% of target groups.
Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen called out Thailand today for prioritizing the use of its homegrown AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines for its own country. She said the severity of the COVID-19 situation in Thailand had caused a delay in the deliveries to Taiwan. Taiwan has been struggling to speed up its vaccination program while it deals with a spike in domestic cases. Only about 3% of its 23.5 million people had received at least one shot so far. Meanwhile, Thailand has reported almost 190,000 infections, with over 80% of the new cases and fatalities recorded since April. Taiwan ordered 10 million doses of AstraZeneca shots, mainly produced in a plant in Thailand, and was expected to have been received in June. The Philippines will exempt fully vaccinated elderly from stay-at-home orders to encourage more to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Starting Wednesday, seniors living in areas under looser quarantine restrictions will be allowed to go out, but will still need to wear masks and practice social distancing. The elderly, who account for 4/5 of COVID-19 deaths in the country, were among priority groups in the government's vaccination drive that began on March 1st. But as of last Sunday, slight over 1.5 million, or 16% of its 9 million elderly population, had got their first shot, while more than 343,000 had received their second doses. Euro 2020 is kicking off tomorrow with the first match between Turkey and Italy in an early morning match. In this last series of reports leading up to the tournament, we take a look at another one of the tournament's favorites, Belgium. Here is Astro Supersport host Adam Carruthers sharing his insights.
They are good, but I think that they've had some problems with Eden Hazard, who is very much one of their main players. In fact, this week, he made his first appearance for the national side, I believe, since 2019. Now, of course, last year was beset by COVID, so there weren't too many internationals, but he has been injured, severely so, ever since he joined Real Madrid. And he hasn't found his best form heading into this tournament. Now, maybe he'll explode and we'll see the best of Eden Hazard, but that's hard to imagine. Kevin De Bruyne, UEFA Champions League final, he had that horrible facial injury, so we're not sure how fit he's going to be. Romelu Lukaku has been in great form, so he'll probably be the main man. And a lot of their players now are a bit older, and we keep calling them the golden generation, but you do wonder if maybe that ship has sailed with the World Cup in 2018. Maybe age really has caught up with them, but we'll see.
Astro is excited to bring sports fans the best viewing experience for UEFA Euro 2020 on TV and Astro Go. Watch UEFA Euro 2020 like never before on the Ultra Box with all 51 live matches in 4K UHD. Sports Pack customers also get complimentary access to UEFA Euro 2020 and free upgrade to the Ultra Box for eligible customers to provide the most premium football viewing experience. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines on astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I'm Saraya Mia. We'll see you again.